Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life, that there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. You can see it when you look out your window, or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
What truth?
That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind. Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Secretary Gorbachev, when you stop to think that we're all God's children, wherever we may live in the world, I couldn't help but say to him, just think how easy his task and mine might be in these meetings that we held if suddenly there was a threat to this world from some other species, from another planet, outside in the universe. We'd forget all the little local differences that we have between our countries, and we would find out once and for all that we really are all human beings here on this earth together. Well, I don't suppose we can wait for some alien race to come down and threaten us, but I think that between us we can bring about that realization. In our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet I ask you, is not an alien force already among us? What could be more alien to the universal aspirations of our peoples than war and the threat of war? I think maybe I'd answer it this way. My frustration sometimes, actually, with some of the things going on in smaller countries, and there have been about 114 wars since World War II. But I've often wondered, what if all of us in the world discovered that we were threatened by an outer power from outer space on another planet? Wouldn't we all of a sudden find that we didn't have any differences between us at all? We were all human beings, citizens of the world, and wouldn't we come together to fight that particular threat?
We know from our fancy telescopes that just in the last 2 years, more than 20 planets have been identified outside our solar system that seem to be far enough away from their suns and dense enough that they might be able to support some form of life. So it makes it increasingly less likely that we're alone.
Oh, you're trying to give me a hint that there are aliens.
No, I'm trying to tell you I don't know.
Oh.
But if we were visited someday, I wouldn't be surprised. I just hope that it's not like Independence Day.
Yeah, right.
That it's a conflict.
Well, now we have friendly
Maybe the only way to unite this incredibly divided world of ours. They're out there. We better think of how all the differences among people on Earth would seem small if we felt threatened by a space invader. That's the whole theory of independence.
You're right. You're right.
Scientists left baffled by an unexplained circular light seen hovering high over Moscow on Wednesday evening. People described seeing a wide circular formation in the sky.
Scientists from all over the world are trying to figure out what caused a mysterious blue light to spiral in the sky over Norway on Wednesday.
As UFO sightings go, this one was as good or as weird as it gets.
Early yesterday morning, just before dawn, this appeared in the Norwegian sky. A blue light, small at first, growing into a spiral, and then disappearing into what appeared to be a black hole.
Thousands of Norwegians bombarded the Meteorological Institute to ask what that light could have possibly been. Some feared it could have been a meteor, others a black hole, and there are even those that thought it could be aliens.
A strange spiralling white light was spotted in the early morning sky over Sydney, with even sceptical witnesses wondering if it was a UFO. The unusual sight was recorded by hundreds of people from Victoria north to Queensland.
A spiral in the sky around a bright light.
A UFO in China's skies forced Zhoushan Airport to stop operations on July 7th. Outbound flights were grounded after the unidentified flying object was detected by a flight crew. For now, the UFO continues to be a mystery.
Some Chinese residents are on edge this morning after another apparent UFO sighting. It's the second one in 2 weeks. The first sighting was on July 7th, and an airport had to be shut down.
All right, that's a UFO if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, can you
That's
identify
undeniable.
it? The airport had to be shut down after people apparently saw twinkling lights above the airport terminal. 17 flights had to be diverted. The latest sighting happened just 2 days ago, and people say they saw 4 lantern-like objects forming a diamond shape in the air, hovering in the sky for over an hour. And aviation experts say they don't know what it was.
Strange and mysterious lights hovering above East El Paso tonight. What's even more strange, very similar lights were spotted in Manhattan just 2 days ago. Above the skies of Northeast and East El Paso tonight, a sight that was a little more than stunning. This is what one of our photographers, Ram Moreno, caught on video. One solitary light that appears to be falling in the sky. But that light suddenly breaks apart into 2, then 3 separate lights. Those lights then just freeze in the air and begin to hover. Eventually, a 4th light can be seen. Then the lights appear to be hovering and then moving in a strange pattern. Then they all disappear. Just 2 days ago, in the sky above Manhattan, people froze on the street there as they saw these 3 lights hovering in the middle of the day. And check this out. The 3 lights are close to each other, then spread out into this triangle pattern. Now, look at the patterns side by side. This from Manhattan and the other tonight in El Paso. I gotta tell you, they do look eerily similar.
People are looking up. It's because of a mystery in the sky. Is it a balloon, a UFO? Well, whatever it is, it sure has a lot of people talking. Eyewitness News reporter Jeff Begase is live in Chelsea where crowds have gathered. Jeff, what's this all about?
Well, Sade, we don't know.
Michio Kaku is a theoretical physics professor, and back on the screen, what is it?
We don't know. We are stumped.
Disclosure is very close, and the American people need to prepare themselves very soon for an announcement from our government that there is, in fact, extraterrestrial presence engaging this planet and the human race.
On the outskirts of Xingnu, near Tibet, lays the ruins of a monument and pyramid, remains of a royal palace containing thrones with sun and moon images. There was also a large milky white stone surrounded by exquisite drawings discovered in 1725. In 1952, a Soviet expedition arrived. The group was shown by Tibetan monks some ancient documents whose descriptions agreed with the 1725 discovery documents and described the milky white stone was brought from the moon. Could this be possible? Were we ever on the moon? All over the world, there are ancient rock drawings, paintings depicting rocket ships, flying machines, and astronauts. The Epic of Etana from Babylon, 4,700 years ago, supplies us with a very accurate description of the Earth's surface from progressive altitudes, descriptions which were not verified until the high-altitude flights of the 1950s and the first space shots of the 1960s. Ancient written scrolls also describe the moon, including landscapes, craters, and monuments built on the moon. This tiny golden replica of an ancient flying machine is Colombian, over 1,000 years old. It was tested in a wind tunnel. The aerodynamic styling resembles that of a modern aircraft.
crew step out, or we will kill you.
destroyed, we can rebuild, but only if we join with the Decepticons. No, it's not the only way. This is our home. We must defend the humans. So lost you are, Optimus. On Cybertron we were gods, and here they call us machines. Let the humans serve us, or perish.
What you're seeing here has nothing to do with little green men from Mars, I assure you. Nothing to do with aliens. What you're looking at is the Brill 7. Matter of fact, we went over and got not only the V2 rockets, you know about all that, but we also got this technology right here, and we brought it back. Hitler had a whole series of these Brill saucers made. Now this thing couldn't even leave Earth's atmosphere. It was not a flying saucer like you're thinking about. No little green men involved. We're talking about pure German science here, okay? And it really was just a different form of a helicopter. It still operated off aerodynamic lift, off blades that were run by 12 motors. Our people discovered much of these technological advances when we went in under Operation Paperclip. We went in and began to bring their scientists out even before the end of the war. We sent in people and began to make arrangements to recruit their scientists and their intelligence establishments. Hitler's intelligence establishment, almost intact, was brought out of Germany by the Dulles brothers, Henry Kissinger, and other men who worked on that project to get those people out of there. And those people, the Gaylord, was eventually turned into your CIA. You people have no concept that half of the CIA was Nazis, the other half was these tool groups, like the Skull and Bone groups that Bush came out of.
Accessing archive. Hydra was founded on the belief that humanity could not be trusted with its own freedom. What we did not realize was that if you try to take that freedom, they resist. The war taught us much. Humanity needed to surrender its freedom willingly. After the war, SHIELD was founded, and I was recruited. The new Hydra grew, a beautiful parasite inside SHIELD. For 70 years, Hydra has been secretly feeding crisis, weeping war. And when history did not cooperate, history was changed.
That's impossible. SHIELD would have stopped you.
Accidents will happen. Hydra created a world so chaotic that humanity is finally ready to sacrifice its freedom to gain its security. Once the purification process is complete, Hydra's new world order will arise.
Here are the facts. Conspiracy theorists are everywhere. Whether the topic is JFK, Roswell, or anything in between, odds are that someone won't accept the official story. And that's only the beginning. Around the globe, tens of thousands of people claim to be eyewitnesses to abductions by things like reptilian aliens, the Illuminati, or angels. The truth, these people say, can no longer be ignored. Of course, their own versions of the truth usually differ. While the mainstream typically ignores these claims, it's no secret that world governments have taken some events quite seriously. Whether they're trying to make psychic spies or track unidentified flying objects, governments have a history of trying to hunt down the truth behind the bizarre sightings and events reported each year. But some people believe these investigations are more than cover-up attempts or fringe science. They think the world governments might be planning a supernatural event of their own. Here's where it gets crazy. In his 1994 book Project Bluebeam, journalist Serge Monast writes that NASA and other government agencies have been working in secret since 1983 on something called Project Bluebeam. The purpose? To pave the way for a global government by fooling people into thinking it's the end of the world. Here's how it works according to Mr. Monast. First, the group will fake an alien invasion, convincing the world that aliens are planning to take over major cities across the globe. Second, religious populations will be treated to a rapture or fulfillment of their religion's prophecies. This will all be a sham, conducted through the use of large-scale holograms and microchips hidden within most modern electronics. Once the various nations of the world topple under the massive civic unrest and panic, the New World Order will assert itself and the people of the world, desperate for any sort of authority, will accept its rule. Mr. Monast doesn't stop there. He also believes that NASA will use low-frequency electromagnetic waves to communicate telepathically, and that the New World Order will phase out cash. And he's not the only one who believes this. Skeptics have several issues with this conspiracy theory. First and foremost, what type of technology would be needed to inundate the world with realistic visions of aliens and messiahs? How could this technology be manufactured in secret? Second, could governments across the world really cooperate and coordinate closely enough to pull off this massive con? Most importantly, where's the evidence? Extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof after all. We do know that the US government briefly entertained the idea of using a hologram in Iraq. US Air Force planners brainstorming on the best way to achieve a bloodless coup in Iraq proposed creating a giant hologram that would appear to be Allah, commanding Iraqis to overthrow Saddam Hussein. This plan was never implemented. So where does this leave Project Bluebeam? Without hard evidence, skeptics dismiss Bluebeam as a crackpot theory. Would Mr. Monast have written a new book with this much-needed proof to validate his claims? We will never know. He died in 1996. The official cause of death was listed as a heart attack.
Just as the world braced for a close encounter with a large asteroid named DA-14, Russia experienced a meteor shower just hours before the asteroid whizzed safely past Earth at the unprecedented distance of 17,200 miles. Mainstream news are claiming that this meteor shower is part of the debris field. Traveling at 33,000 miles per hour, the fragments reportedly fell near the town of Satka, like a scene from the Armageddon movie. Clips showing a trail appearing across the sky, before a blinding bright object appears. This followed a loud boom, whose shockwave injured 1,200 people including 200 children and damaged thousands of homes. Windows were smashed and buildings were devastated, including the 6,000 square feet roof of a zinc factory, as some residents feared doomsday had arrived. The main chunk of the meteor fell into a frozen lake, creating a huge hole in the ice. The emergencies minister stressed that no meteorite fragments had been discovered anywhere in the region so far, despite some 20,000 rescuers and recovery workers being dispatched to the region on Friday. 6 divers who searched its waters for 3 hours on Saturday were able to finding nothing but mud and silt. Space experts worldwide are divided on whether the meteor is connected to today's flyby of asteroid DA-14. The European Space Agency put out a message on its official Twitter account claiming that the meteor shower was not debris from the DA-14 asteroid. Dr. Stephen Lowry, planetary scientist at the University of Kent, doubted the connection but remarked that the meteorite shower was an incredible coincidence. Mark Ford of the British and Irish Meteorite Society was quoted as saying, "If I had to bet, I would say it's not related." According to a Press TV article, a member of Russian parliament says the recent meteor strike in the Ural Mountains was in reality the result of secret testing of new weapons by the US. He also stated that the US Secretary of State, John Kerry, wanted to warn Russia's Foreign Minister, Lavrov, on Monday about a provocation against Russia, but was on a trip out of town. A Cuban TV channel reported Friday, citing eyewitnesses, saying an object fell from the sky over central Cuba on Thursday night and turned into a fireball bigger than the sun before it exploded. American aerospace executive Dr. Carol Rosein worked in the 1970s with Dr. Wernher von Braun, the German rocket scientist, who was employed by NASA after the Second World War. She said that he told her when he knew he was dying of cancer that there was a plan to introduce a series of fake enemies to justify the weaponization of space. They would be, in order, the Soviet Union, terrorists, third world country crazies, countries of concern in current parlance, asteroids, and the last one would be a threat of an alien invasion. Von Braun told her not to believe any of this when it happened because it would all be a lie and a hoax.
When God created man, a jealous Lucifer mounted a great rebellion in heaven. His army of angels was defeated and forever banished from paradise. These angels, the fallen, abandoned Lucifer, choosing to live on earth among the pleasures of humans. They took mortal wives and fathered abominations, children called Nephilim. They have the powers of angels, but the souls of men. Angry, the Creator flooded the earth, killing the Nephilim and driving the fallen into hiding. He sent the powers, fierce warrior angels, to hunt those that survived the flood.
I was just hanging out with the Lord one day, and I said, Lord, I want to be a part of your army. And I said, Lord, I want to be a part of your army. I want to be a part of that generation of people that you raise up. And the Lord, he just sang this over me. He said, you got your best men on your front side, always show your best side. And evil's always on the other side. You say this is your strategy. But son, I hope you take it from me. You look just like your enemy. You're full of pride. You're full of pride.
good to be back. Three, 5, 4, 4.
The chief advisor to Queen Elizabeth I, Sir John Dee, he was a Kabbalistic black magician. He had gone to the continent and learned from the top Jewish Kabbalists black magic, and he was the chief advisor in the British Empire. And he created Enochian magic and the Enochian language, which the Illuminati, which are hiding behind the Jehovah's Witness headquarters, they use Enochian rituals. Sir John Dee conjured up demons or angels, okay, with his black magic. The beings that he conjured up, there were pictures drawn of them, and they look identical to what we call gray aliens. Okay, I tell you something. And then I visit with debriefing people that came out of high levels of the Illuminati, and these different types of aliens are participating in Illuminati rituals.
What was interesting is that there was a huge satanic ritual that was performed on the very spot where Area 51 happened by this Jack Parsons, and in which they had this magical ceremony called Babylon Working, and it was designed by Aleister Crowley, who was a Satanist who called himself the B666.
Yes.
And the purpose of this series of magical ceremonies, which was performed on the spot of Area 51, where it's now located, was to unseal an interdimensional gateway, they said. And so this, they hoped, would allow other entities known as the, quote, old ones, access to our space-time continuum. And this witness said that he saw Jack Parsons rip a hole in space-time there, and he said that something evil flew in. And one other interesting point is that Aleister Crowley, who was a Satanist, who called himself the B666, as I just mentioned, he claimed to have contact with some kind of alien named Lamb. And this Lamb, he drew a picture of this alien that he was in contact, receiving messages from this being. And the picture that he drew of this alien, it's a striking resemblance to the common gray ET drawing.
knows what hypnosis is. No one knows what goes on in the mind. It's an altered state of consciousness like yogis and witch doctors have been practicing. It loosens the normal connection between your spirit and your brain. And of course, if the hypnotist can control you, make all kinds of suggestions, make you think things are happening that are not happening, make you think you have powers that you don't, experiences that you haven't, even implant memories. Other beings, if there are other minds out there, they could also do the same thing. Sir John Eccles, Nobel Prize winner for his research on the brain, describes the brain as, quote, a machine that a ghost can operate, unquote. What he means by that is your spirit operates your brain in a normal state of consciousness. In an altered state, reached under yoga, TM, hypnosis, you have loosened the normal connection between your spirit and your brain, and that allows another spirit, other entities, other minds to interpose themselves and begin to tick off the neurons in your brain, create a universe of illusion. I believe that it's demonic. I think all of the evidence indicates this. You can literally hypnotize a person, tell them that there's a cat in their lap, they will see it, they will hear it, purr, they will pet it and feel it. It's not physically there. You tell the cat to scratch them, you know, and bring them out of it. There are scratch marks on their cheek. A non-physical object, under the right conditions, can leave physical evidence. I think it's demonic. It's a spiritual power of some kind for which there is no physical explanation. You can't explain it with the laws of chemistry and physics as we know it.
John Keel is a world-renowned expert on UFOs and has written numerous books and articles on the subject. A self-described agnostic, he made this statement. Thousands of books have been written on the subject of demonology, which is the ancient and scholarly study of monsters and demons. The manifestations and occurrences described in this literature are identical to the UFO phenomenon. Victims of demonic possession suffer from the same medical and emotional symptoms as the UFO contactees.
But with the stuff that we do know, we know that UFOs are real, that the phenomena is burgeoning, it's increasing, it's not going away. We know that the abduction phenomena is real. We know, and I've held these in my hand, that there are implants put in people that have carbon nanotubes in them, that these implants have a secretion around them, which prevents the host from expunging the implant. We know that these implants give out a frequency, which are 316 gigahertz, which we now believe is a computer. They're giving out a clock rate of 316 gigahertz. That's 100 times faster than the fastest computer we have on the planet, which operates around 3.5 gigahertz. What are we looking at? When I asked Dr. Roger Lear, who's a surgeon who has removed 17 of these implants from people who have claimed to have been abducted, here's the physical proof, okay? What are these things doing? They're changing the host's DNA.
There's something. Oh my God. There's something with a flying machine over the tower. Residents. It's pulling out of the house. It's taking me. You gotta get somebody down here. Please. We gotta send backup now. Shit. Oh my God. Oh God. Oh God.
Minerva is the female goddess of war, similar to Mars. She was also the virgin goddess of poetry, medicine, wisdom, commerce, crafts, magic, and inventor of music, according to the Roman pantheon. She was also the goddess of weaving, thus explaining the Bohemian Grove's logo. She is often depicted with her sacred creature, an owl, which symbolizes her ties to wisdom and secrecy. Minerva was the daughter of Jupiter. She was worshipped throughout Italy, though only in Rome did she take on the warlike character shared by Athena. Here we have the actual Canaanite goddess. researchers and conspiracy theorists have described the Owl of Minerva as Moloch. Probably the confusion has come from the fact that at the Bohemian Groves ritual, the Owl of Minerva has a bonfire in front of it where a symbolic sacrifice is occurring, which is very similar to the circumstances surrounding the Canaanite god Moloch. However, symbolically, this is just not the case. We have here an owl, not a bull. So, however distasteful you might find the Bohemian Groves ritual, I think it is in all of our best interest, if we want to understand this group of people, to at least understand their symbolism for what it is, and not make it into something that it isn't. However, it is clear that the elites feel they are engaged in some kind of occultic ritual which might imbue on them the powers of this goddess Minerva and her mysterious owl. And yes, by making a sacrifice to this Owl of Minerva, they are attempting to gain superiority of some kind over their competition and have one leg up on all of us. This may seem an absurd notion to most sane people. However, just because something seems absurd to us does not mean that other people do not take it very seriously. It is probably worth noting that infamous occultist Aleister Crowley and his Motivo organization have dedicated to the Owl of Minerva. So perhaps Crowley was inspired by the Bohemian Grove to create his own similar ritual. One must also note that the use of the goddess Minerva imagery is also present on Congressional Medal of Honor, various military organizations, including the Minerva Center, a military organization for women. So that includes
God King stood before his people.
A Stargate portal is a man-made device which opens a doorway in space and time and enables travelers to connect to distant realms or higher dimensions. NASA has discovered that portals exist naturally around the Earth. Accessing them with a device may therefore be much easier than first thought. Known as X-points, portals are born from the mingling of Earth's magnetic field with incoming solar winds. It is where the Sun and Earth become connected by an uninterrupted path. These portals open and close a dozen times each day. Magnetic reconnection, via magnetic lines of force from the Sun and Earth, crisscross and join to create the openings. X-points are where the crisscross takes place. In essence, these are wormholes in space. Pyramids have long been associated with being used as stargates for pharaohs after death. With the capacity to generate a torsion field from within its structure, pyramids can focus Earth's vibrational energies towards their apex into a beam. In 2011, Semir Osmanagic had the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun tested for infra and ultrasonic sound. An energy beam was detected that was 13 feet in radius and measured 28 kHz. This is the same frequency Ralph Ring discovered in his acoustical levitation experiments while in the military. Further experiments by Dr. Slobodan Misdrak from 2010 to 2012 showed that the source of the 10 kilowatt ultrasound energy beam from the Pyramid of the Sun is a metallic plate beneath the pyramid, at a depth of 2,440 meters or approximately 1.86 miles. On some level, pyramids seem to operate like giant radio receivers. But instead of collecting radio frequencies, they collect Schumann frequencies from the ionosphere. A radar image of the UV coverage by the telescope in Kunming, China, shows that it forms a kind of eye at its center. This has many symbolic implications, as we shall see. Rodin's powerful symbol has been compared against other secret symbols, like the Freemasonry symbol for the square and compass, and the Masonic tattoo of a sun in the middle of a triangle, with an eye at the top, surrounded by an Ouroboros. In the 12th century, the shield of the Trinity diagram orientates the triangle upside down, while a related tetragrammaton puts the face of God in the center. Churches all over Europe use this symbol. In the 5th chapel of the Palace of Versailles, France, a tetragrammaton has a triangle with the four-letter name of God, written in Hebrew in the center, and enclosed by a circle. While the circle represents unbroken perfect symmetry, Joe Parr defines it as the energy bubble, or pyramid orb a pyramid creates when it is energized. Marco Rodin defines the bubble as a torus. In either case, it represents the physical manifestation of energy, in three spatial dimensions. Schematic experiments held in the King's Chamber of the Pyramid of Giza in 1997 by John Stuart Reid showed how the Eye of Horus symbol appeared as a vibrate-channel tone within the sarcophagus. When struck, the sarcophagus sounds like a gong due to its 2-to-1 ratio. The pyramids of Khufu and Khafre have had their internal components removed. One of these components was a jade with human hands holding a crystal orb. In 1970, one such orb was found in an underwater chamber by Ray Brown in a crystal pyramid, in the Bermuda Triangle. Inside this crystal orb are the images of the pyramidion, a symbol which represents power and completeness. The crystal orb, or oval in the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, is located inside the K2 megalith, which lies 180 meters from the entrance. Its dimensions are 12 by 6 by 8 inches in diameter. Without this oval quartz crystal, the pyramid would not emanate a 28 kHz signal into the ionosphere. Ralph H. Blum translated the markings on the K2 stone. It says, "Gate is closed, we're on standstill. We will have to fight to defend and conquer, until we're able to go through the Stargate." The Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun is a fully operational stargate. Opening it will require great care. The pyramidion and quartz stone need to be in place for the pyramid to focus the correct resonating frequency. The human body must also be put into proper vibration by way of meditation. In this painting, the Egyptian sun god Ra rides his solar bark into the afterlife. Notice 7 rays of light are coming out of the sun. These represent the 7 chakras of the body. Here is a frequency chart for the 7 chakras. Since pyramids are tuned to Schumann frequencies, the human body must also be tuned to them in order to travel through the stargate.
They had discovered our spinning planet to be a giant generator, its land masses crisscrossed with energy lines. These magnetic currents they had harnessed across the planet was one big gigantic scientific instrument. Along these lines, situated at terrestrial power points, arose temples, pillars, rocking stones, circles, crosses, mounds, pyramids, tunnels and platforms. Traces of these are dotted still around the world. You see them on every continent and even on remote islands. Thus, all over the world, thousands upon thousands of pillars called menhirs arose in symmetrical formation, their purpose to realign Earth magnetism from its natural meandering paths to straight, artificial lines. At each pillar, the electric current of the atmosphere was attracted to combine with the terrestrial current to produce a fusion of power, a secret we have not yet utilized. Interestingly, the standing stones were all rich in quartz, a crystal similar to that used with the cat's whiskers in early radio receivers. Modern experiments have shown that cosmic influences do affect magnetic currents at the Earth's surface, and that at certain seasons rocks become charged with energy which they release into the soil, stimulating seed germination and vegetable growth. Green tomatoes placed within a magnetic field have been shown to ripen 4 to 6 times faster. Seeds placed in a current grow many times faster. We have the technology to make the soils rich and fertile without chemicals. The energy lines were also harnessed for propulsion and also for transport. The old elite cabal want to hang on to the oil, even though the combustion engine is a 100-year-old technology. Another use of the network was power production and communication. Healing also resulted from this energy system. Millions of taxpayers' money was spent to fence Stonehenge in the UK to keep the public out during the summer solstice, whilst the elite members would participate in a healing and energy ritual. The big pharmaceutical mafia would just love that. Earlier pyramids were not built as tombs significantly. They were part of the worldwide network. For starters, 85 survive in Egypt, at least 4 in France, 1 radioactive, and in Bermuda 1 that is submerged. There are thousands of pyramids worldwide. This implies that a single authority was directing a united world effort, a world order. The city of Babel, later to become Babylon, was a political center for world government. By possessing such a global energy center, Babel effectively controlled the world. The egotistic founders of Babylon grew more and more wicked and mad until they thought in their hearts there were some sort of gods themselves. This quote from an ancient scripture. The arrogance of Babel became a scandal. Wars had started at some parts of the world and civil disobedience began. Through the ages, the elite have been manipulating the real history of the planet by destroying all the great libraries of the world and looting the real antiques of value and knowledge. They started to install the alien agenda so people would think the past was erected by aliens or reptilians. The alien agenda is the biggest deception to hide true agendas, as we will soon see. They destroyed the real schools of knowledge, and now what remains is nothing but a useless brainwashing tool to turn everyone into tax-paying zombies that suit the fabricated Illuminati society as based on slavery, debt, and sexual deprivation. Barbaric false doctrines, the system that benefits only a few on the top of the pyramid. They infiltrated every government at the highest levels. They hijacked the public health industry and programmed doctors to kill their patients. They even programmed the masses to kill themselves and their children through food, drink, and suicide. Watch the Illuminati indoctrination. It is 100% accurate. There are thousands of patents that have been shelved by the elite that would benefit mankind, but not the agenda. A patent office is set up to steal other people's ideas. They are also set up to notify other corporate bodies to buy up your idea. They killed more scientists and have stolen more patents than you can possibly imagine. Check out deadscientist.com. Jewish-born Albert Einstein was the head of such a patent office in Switzerland. They turned him into a famous scientist out of thin air and gave him creditability out of mathematical and scientific formulas straight out of the hidden archives. Remember, the Illuminati is a broad spectrum title given to anyone who is illuminated into occult knowledge. These Cabal bloodlines are known by the title Moriah, Conquering Wind, the Family, and the Enlightened Ones. The Olympians, or the Circle, is a secretive title which is given to the members who have participated in the highest degree ritual known as the 360th degree full circle ritual. Freemasons run the governments of the world and strive to erect landmark buildings, monuments and national parks, etc., as strategic symbols of their influence and to instill the validity of the three-dimensional realm. Not only as symbolic power, these structures act as direct subliminal hypnotic suggestion. Their agenda, unknown to them, uses the flawed system of number and language rituals to build order out of chaos. They relentlessly build and construct the modern-day cities on behalf of the Illuminati elitist families, who in turn are simply illusions themselves, working within and in accordance to the Luciferian agenda of three-dimensional constructions, sincerely believing they are fulfilling the will of God and literally building His kingdom on earth. For thousands of years, spiritual information was kept secret. Priests and priestesses of various religions or cults would give their lives to keep the rest of the world from knowing about one of their secret documents or a piece of spiritual knowledge, making sure it remained secret. Some of the spiritual groups and secret societies around the world had their secret information. Then suddenly, in the mid-60s, the veil of secrecy was lifted. In unison, almost all the spiritual groups of the world opened their archives at the same moment in history. You can browse through books in your neighborhood bookstore and see information that has been sealed and guarded for thousands of years. Why? Why now? To bring changes to the world and to bring a slight balance of changes, otherwise the negativity will destroy even the elite themselves. Nuclear war fear-mongering. In 1979, when I was walking home from school, the postman was shouting that we were about to have a nuclear war. I ran home in shock and fear, but it turned out to be a false alarm. A training tape that simulated all the signals of a massive Soviet first strike had mistakenly been loaded into a computer at the U.S. Strategic Air Command's Cheyenne Mountain Control Center in Colorado. Movie after movie about nuclear wars, terrorists carrying nuclear bombs, was lurking in the back of everyone's minds. In the 90s, I came across a remarkable man named Bruce Cathy. He could accurately predict the time and place of an atomic weapons test. He also confirmed that a nuclear device cannot be detonated at any time or at any place. The device is based on the geometrics of space and time. The one secret that trumps all others. To be successfully detonated, the bomb must be geometrically constructed, placed on, under, or over a geometric position in relation to the Earth's surface and activated at a specific time in relation to the geometrics of the solar system. That means an all-out atomic war was an impossibility. Both sides could pre-calculate well in advance the time and positions of an atomic attack, plus the fact that only certain geometric locations could be detonated anyhow. A logical war cannot be considered under these circumstances. This could be the explanation for the proliferation of conventional weapons in modern warfare. That means Israel's nuclear stockpile is useless. It's all scaremongering. This is why if Iran laughs it off about Israel accusing Iran of building a nuclear bomb, it's all a bluff. This technology is over 5,000 years old and was known to the ancients, the music of the spheres. They have more devastating advanced technology at their disposal, so why stick to the old fear-mongering of nuclear bombs? The answer is simple. Can you guess? Because it's taken decades to install the fear and propaganda into the unsuspecting public, who never question anything and is easily fooled. Propaganda is the executive arm of the invisible government. Edward Bernays. In New Zealand, the Sun Herald wrote an article, "Building a nuclear bomb is easy enough. The hard thing is finding the trigger." What do you mean the governments are lying to us? Do you mean the books in universities are based on lies? Can they bribe everyone, suppress whole universities, and get away with it? The answer is yes. Stick your PhDs where the sun don't shine. Bruce Cathy pursued his research after observing several unidentified flying objects during his aviation career. He formed theories considering the geometric structure of the universe and the nature of time based on harmonic principles. Much of his work was deliberately suppressed by the establishment. I flew to New Zealand to meet Bruce after a lecture he gave in a tent. He told me that the secret government tried to bribe him with $1 million to keep this information under wraps. He refused. This was verified in his books. He also told me that the secret government has already cracked the 9th dimension in the late 1970s. Also, the Beam Me Up Scotty transfer technology was almost complete. The CIA was always present at every one of his meetings and lectures. None of the controlled truthers ever interviewed Bruce Cathy, not even the so-called UFO researchers.
Around 2800 BC, there lived a hunter named Nimrod in Babylon, which was located between the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers. Whenever wild animals threatened the people, he protected them with his power. As people respected and supported him, Nimrod became arrogant and incited people to build the Tower of Babel.
Come, let us build a tower that reaches to the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves and not be scattered over the face of the whole earth.
Such deeds of Nimrod that were against God has continued even after Nimrod had died. Semiramis, Nimrod's wife, insisted that Nimrod became the sun god. She cut Nimrod's dead body into pieces and sent them to each tribe of Babylon. People regarded the place where a part of Nimrod was buried as sacred. She also claimed that Nimrod was reincarnated as her son.
The sun god Nimrod was reincarnated as my son Tammuz. He who believes and follows Tammuz follows Nimrod.
As Semiramis ruled over Babylon in place of her young son Tammuz, she maneuvered people into worshiping her. Monuments of Semiramis carrying her child Tammuz in her arms were set up all over Babylon, along with various images symbolizing the sun god. The sun worship and the mother-child worship, which was a scheme devised by Semiramis, put down roots as a religion of Babylon. Idolatry stemmed from Babylon, spread to many countries after the Tower of Babel collapsed. It is because when the Babylonians were scattered over the whole world, they brought the sun worship and the mother-child worship. The sun worship and the mother-child worship were assimilated into the cultures and religions of many countries, and they came to have various forms and names. Nimrod, the sun god, was known as Mithra in Persia, Sol in Rome, Ra or Horus in Egypt, and Apollo in Greece. Semiramis and Tammuz, who were the start of the mother-child worship, was called Isis and Horus, Venus and Dionysus, Diana and Attis, and Astaroth and Tammuz, respectively. Besides these, the image of goddess, who is holding a baby in her arms, was venerated in many countries of the world. If so, was the mother-child worship the creature of an age, which was especially welcomed only in Babylon? Surprisingly, the mother-child worship of Babylon has been passed down through the thousands of years and still exists today. In Vatican of Rome, we can find the mother-child worship in its original state.
Now, what did the devil say, right? You shall be like gods. Well, the pharaohs thought they were gods. The Caesars thought they were gods. Kings thought they were gods all through the ancient world. What about presidents? Believe it or not, kings and queens and stuff still think they are. And I submit to you that in some ways the presidents do too. They certainly think they're above the law. They think they're above the Constitution. They think they can do whatever they want. But let's go back and look at our presidents, starting with the very first one, George Washington. You could walk into the Capitol Dome in Washington, D.C., look up into the womb of Isis, because that's what the Capitol Dome is, the womb of Isis, with the phallic symbol down the road of Osiris's missing piece, the Washington Monument. Right? This picture right here is called the apotheosis of George Washington. Look up in the Capitol Dome, and that's what you're going to see. Surrounded by 72, which is a high occult number, pentagrams, which are known as binding pentagrams. That's how the ancients believe they can, and the occult believes they can control demons. You got George right here in heaven. The apotheosis means ascending into godhood. That's what apotheosis means. Okay? If this is supposedly heaven, you might think you'd see, maybe the saints, see, Yeshua up there, see the angels, Michael, Gabriel. No, that's not what you see. You see Neptune, you see Vulcan, you see the Greek pantheon hanging up there with deified George in the Capitol building. And not to be outdone, when Abraham Lincoln died, they started putting out postcards and whatnot showing the apotheosis of Abraham Lincoln. I bet you've probably never seen this before. They've tucked it away. It used to be out in the outdoors. They put it inside a museum now. This is George Washington posing as a god. Which god? Zeus. This is a depiction of Zeus from the Temple of Zeus, which was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Also, it's the same pose as the occult symbol for Baphomet. Oh, this is a Christian nation. Yeah, okay. There were Christians on the boat, but you also have to realize there were Illuminists on the boat, there were Freemasons on the boat, there were a lot of occultists on the boat also. And if you look at the entire layout of Washington, D.C., it's all occult. Look at all the buildings. It's all after Greek mythology, too. What did Solomon say? What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. So what about this guy? Funny how he shows up a lot of times with a halo around his head every time they seem to take a picture of him. Photo op, it seems like he's got a little aura around his head. Well, when he was making his rounds, going around the country, so was this guy. Took a little photo op in front of the equally pagan Statue of Liberty. This is Anubis. Anubis was the god of the underworld until Osiris came down there and usurped his rulership. Osiris became the god of the underworld, and then he started working for Osiris. But he was the god in charge of mummification. Nimrod was the first to be mummified. Why? Because of the Ankh. They expect him to resurrect. That's what all of the pyramids and all that was all about. Resurrection, mummification, preservation of the dead. He was in charge of that. He was in charge of the preservation of the dead. He was also in charge of when you came to Hades, he would quiz you to see which direction to send you in. Obama's making his tour around the country. This guy's going around the country with him. He parks in the Denver International Airport, which is an extremely occult facility. It'll take too much to talk about that. But when he was in Germany, he was fascinated by, this is the seat of Satan that was mentioned in Revelation chapter 2, that was the altar of Zeus. Was in Pergamum, Turkey, moved it to the Berlin Museum just prior to World War II. Hitler loved it. Guess what? Obama loved it too. So much so that he made a replica of it for his acceptance speech in Denver, Colorado. Obama gave his acceptance speech in front of a replica of the seat of Satan. In Denver, Colorado, besides Anubis. While he was in Egypt in 2009, all the vendors in Cairo had made these metal plaques to sell, calling Obama the new Tutankhamun of the world. Tutankhamun was the son of Akhenaten. Akhenaten was a very strange character indeed, but one of the things Akhenaten did was he got rid of all the gods of Egypt and instituted a monotheistic system of worship of one god in Egypt. His son, King Tut, comes along, undoes everything his dad created, And his son was the one that brought back the worship of the old gods. Obama, the new King Tut of the world. Could it be that he's going to be the one that brings back the worship of the old gods? I don't know, just putting it out there. He goes out to Norway, the man of peace, right? Goes for a Nobel Peace Prize. What the heck did the guy do? Nobody even knew he existed a few years ago. Goes to Norway for a Nobel Peace Prize, and while he's doing that, this thing shows up in the sky. Later they said it was a failed missile. Does that look like a failed missile to you? Come on. That's like the weather balloons back in the 50s. You know, every UFO is a weather balloon. Now it's failed missiles.
Global warming propaganda they're selling us is a complete distortion of reality. Everything has been designed to manipulate the 3D world system so that the blind and gullible buy the line that indeed the Messianic New World Order, the New Age Christ consciousness era, has arrived. Everyone needs to be told the truth, but only a few will act upon it. You, and only you, can change this scenario right around by just knowing what's going on and questioning your reality. Right now, without sounding rude, at least 98% of people are walking around in a trance with their heads buried in the sand. Deep inside, every human in the world knows something's not right, but doesn't know exactly what it is, or choose to ignore it. Maybe it will go away. It won't, unless you apply change. Now, if you were fast asleep, in the middle of the worst, sadistically insane-driven nightmare ever experienced, wouldn't you wish that someone came along to wake you up? The human race is in a hypnotic trance every bit as much as any subject in a hypnotist stage show. Even more so, in fact, because the stooge on the stage only has one hypnotist working on him for a short time. In everyday life, we are all being bombarded with thousands of hypnotic implants.
pass through from their world into our own.
These are mad times we live in, mad!
And the darkest hour,
It's beyond anything I imagined.
is upon us all.
In my life, I've seen things that are truly horrific.
Peru, pre-Incan, the visible-invisible bridge. A city in the Andes was protected by a rocky defile which could only be crossed by a bridge. Constructed of ionized matter, this pre-Incan bridge was made to appear and disappear at will. Of course, all solid objects have a vibration frequency within the range perceptible to the human eye. Some scientists consider that it might be possible to alter the vibration frequency into vibrations outside the visible range. In October 1943, secret experiments allegedly took place from the Philadelphia Naval Yard, in which an electromagnetic force field was created and a ship of the US Navy, fully crewed, was made to disappear. In other words, ship and crew became totally invisible. Pulsating energy fields produced an electronic camouflage. The explanation can probably be found in Einstein's unified field theory. Despite detailed evidence as to names, places, and times, the event is still officially denied. Yet, significantly, since then the great powers have developed infrared cannons, sensitive not only to the visible shape of objects, but also to their thermal radiation, indicating that they seriously consider the possibility of war between invisible combatants.
A Class 2 Special Controls Guidance Document. Implantable radio frequency transponder system for patient identification and health information. If you don't already know, the RFID chip can hold your medical, financial, and criminal records, including all your personal data, which is why the government is gathering all of our personal data from phone calls, emails, and social networks. And he caused all, small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or foreheads. And that no man might buy or sell except he who has the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. The Bible warns us in the end days there will be a one-world government and a one-world currency. This is exactly what NATO and the United Nations is attempting to do. One country at a time, they overthrow the government using NATO assassins to go in and declare they are bringing democracy for the people. They place someone loyal to them in the presidency, and in the process of the takeover, they destroy their economy, steal their freedoms and resources, and murder millions of innocent civilians. But the key for them to accomplish this is they have to ban the guns. They know if the civilians are armed, they will not be able to take over the country and later force the RFID chip implant, which will give them total control.
The company producing these chips is a company called Alien Technology, and you can't really see it very well, but it's got, I think, one of the creepiest logos I've ever seen. It's black, it's got red on a black background. It has what looks like almost 3 claw marks sort of screeching across the screen. And in fact, most of the imagery associated with this technology is quite dark. At a conference I attended about 2 months ago, there was a gentleman from Philip Morris talking about this technology. He was talking to a bunch of global executives from global companies who deal with moving products around. And he was telling them, you know, when this comes out, when we have radio devices and everything, when we're tracking everything all over the planet, you're going to need to really change the way you run your warehouse in your back room. And do you know what he said? And he meant this in terms of you're going to have to totally change the way you do business and revolutionize your thinking about moving products. But his statement was, this technology will destroy our way of life. The purpose of this technology is to destroy our way of life. Now, it's interesting because in his saying that, the whole room went silent. By the way, these are people who love the idea of tracking things as they move around, but even then the room went silent because that was a pretty heavy statement. And I don't think he meant that it's going to absolutely destroy our way of life as we live day to day, but I also don't think he realized the symbolic importance of what he had said. Because if we do actually number every human being, and if we do number every physical item, and if we can keep track of all of that through databases and through computer systems, it will actually destroy our way of life. There will be no more freedom. There will be no more privacy or no more ability to walk around and even talk to other people freely, because your every move will be monitored and tracked. There's the chips. And these devices, as I said, this industry consortium, they've already begun appearing, these radio frequency devices, in consumer products. What you're seeing here is a package of Gillette razor blades that's been equipped with one of these unique numbers, making it trackable from a distance. The purpose here was shoplifting prevention, but ultimately they want to put one of these on every physical item that we buy, meaning that not only would you be identifying yourself with your chip as you made your purchase, but all of the things you bought would also be identified with you, linked in a database. And in essence, it would make it difficult in a world where, let's say, there is the mark of the beast, and you've got a brother-in-law who is maybe willing to take the mark of the beast and give you the stuff that he buys so you can survive. In a world like that, if he bought a shirt, paid for it with his mark, and then handed it to you, that shirt could be tracked at a distance. It could be identified as you walk through a doorway, and they could say, hey, wait a minute, you're not Joe Schmo. You don't have the chip in your ear. In fact, now we've identified you as being the guy who's in trouble for not taking the chip, and now we're going to scan everything you're wearing, and we'll know where you got it, and we'll know who your accomplices were who helped you obtain these items. Massive push right now in industry and in retail to do that. It's called oneness. In fact, this is from the Retail Systems 2003 in Chicago, creating oneness among systems, supply chain, and business. And the idea is that everything will be standardized.
The whole agenda is to create a one-world government where everybody has an RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those chips, right? There'll be no more cash. And this is giving me straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish. And all money will be in your chips. And so instead of having cash, anytime you have money in your chip, they can take out whatever they want to take out whenever they want to. If they say you owe us this much money in taxes, they just deduct it out of your chip digitally.
Total control.
Total control. And if you're like me or you, and you're protesting what they're doing, they can just turn off your chip. And you have nothing. You can't buy food. You can't do anything. It's total control of the people.
And that chip's connected to a database that has your purchasing records, what you do, what
everything.
you sell.
Everything is in there, you know? And so they want a one world government controlled by them, everybody being chipped.
There's senators out there that are fighting as hard as they can to cut some of the spending waste in our government. And there's billions and billions of dollars being spent left and right, just wasted. And people ask why? Why is our government wasting so much money? Why are they giving things away? Why are they giving money to other countries when we're already broke? To collapse the economy, so that we can have a one world economy, so all of our financial records can be put on the chip, the implantable RFID chip.
We're gonna cut you up good, homie.
Play nice, Andrew. Play nice. Let's get him an ID first.
Get the chief one of them identification codes. Get that ready. Arm up. Merge it with the DNA. Now you fit in, like you were born there.
Just want something to have more time in my hand than hours in the day.
Where's the rest?
Never met the quota.
My units are up from last week.
So is the quota.
2 hours.
It's always been an hour.
Now it's 2. Price went up.
It's a 2-hour walk. I have an hour and a half.
Then you better run.
The poor are meant to die. It's how the system works.
basically the U.S. Department of Homeland Security put this out, and Janet Napolitano put it out. If you guys haven't seen this, it's been out for a while. But basically here, they paint a right-wing extremist as a Christian, as a patriot, as a veteran, somebody who believes in end times prophecy, and these particular things. Let me just show you a few quotes on this document. Right here is where they target veterans as part of terrorist organizations and lone wolf extremism. Also, if we scroll down just a little bit, here is where it targets Christianity. Historically, domestic right-wing extremists have feared, predicted, and anticipated a cataclysmic economic collapse in the U.S. So if you believe that the economy will collapse at some point, you are, quote-unquote, a terrorist. Prominent anti-government conspiracy theories have included aspects of an impending economic collapse to intensify fear and paranoia among like-minded individuals. That's because our economy is on the brink, and economists are saying this, but they want to keep it under the wraps. It's ironic how they don't want you to talk about it, but yet this is exactly what's happening. But here, if you're a conspiracy theorist, believe in an economic collapse, you're on there. If you believe that there will be a declaration of martial law or impending civil strife like a civil war, or you believe that the Constitution is on the brink of being suspended, then you are, quote unquote, a terrorist. If you believe in FEMA camps, detention camps, not to mention there is a document called Internment and Resettlement that is basically your FEMA camp document. If you're against the government, believe in end time prophecies, gosh, this is like all me, stockpile food, ammo, and weapons, or if you are a Christian or a Christian organization, then you can be a terrorist. So lots of things that really go on this document, but maybe this is why at that briefing the government has basically not labeled the word Christian. The only time that they use the word Christian is when there's an attack from a Christian, which in my opinion we all know is not a real Christian. Any Christian that goes to violence is not a Christian, and that's when they'll use the word Christianity. Okay, when a Muslim group or an Islamic group commits a crime, the government doesn't use the word Islamic or terrorist. Okay, but only when a Muslim is attacked do they use that particular one. So lots of things is in here. I'm not going to read it all because I've read it all on various things, but including if you believe in a one world government, that's the last thing that I wanted to show you on here, then you could be considered a terrorist. And the funny thing is we have things like the UN that promote a one world government, not to mention a one world religion. But basically this is me in a nutshell. However, I would never do a violent act in my entire life, but according to Janet Napolitano in this document, I am a right-wing extremist. They are using PRISM to get data to find out who is what and who what believes. They use things like Facebook, YouTube, Yahoo, all these particular search engines and websites they are using to collect information on. It's done through PRISM. Very, very much so. They are gathering a profile on me, on you, on everyone, so they can say, are you a terrorist or are you not a terrorist? And considering there is a list out there called Main Core, I encourage you guys to Google that. The list has obviously not been publicized, but it is a list that conspiracy theorists believe that they are using things like PRISM to put our names on to find out where we fall under the terrorist threat sort of thing. But there you have it.
my son. My hopes and dreams travel with you.
You'll be an outcast.
You'll be a god to them. One day, you're gonna have to make a choice. You have to decide what kind of man you want to grow up to be. Whoever that man is, good character or bad, he's gonna change the world.
Can you imagine how people on this planet would react if they knew there was someone like this out there?
You will give the people of Earth an ideal to strive towards. In time, they will join you in the sun.
scientists are at a loss to explain what is causing this weather and why it has taken them by surprise.
That sudden drop in temperature has half an hour ago. Mexican officials closed the border in the line of so many U.S.
Microscopic tag being planted in a person's body to track his every movement. You will rule on that, mark my words.
A chip in everybody would be the universal monetary system par excellence, because there'd be no escape from it.
A new world order can emerge.
Matundi tehebun le'erekum watisnon le'erekum wa ana amerlukum tehebun le'erekum titulon le'reda fekum kaveldi hen tehebun ahavin lukum matabdina أخو رأياتها نشمتي إهاف الله نثا الناش لا لاكياخ نشمتي مني لا هني هذا مني أنا إذا بيداي لما هذا وبيداي متاف ملكخا نامي نبا
Insilla. 301. 302. Satis. Credere non posso. Resistenza sua è incredibilis.
Forza nel placet, no?
Mutate flagello.
Ho cum clavis, eh?
No. Cancro.
Monstro nobis quodi vetur.
Prova e studi.
Quale?
Non mi so
Tibi
parlo.
bene est. Gusta! Gusta!
Qui facis.
Schifamento la magna!
Vedi. Non fortius!
That he بيدنا بمقام هيخان بديتيس جسيبي
ابني.
You and me will punish. Tun maha amaninpi. Matindaun diehwe ana arth. Koste. Chaya. Laite yena shalaba lehin biati. Kabilule. Wa okulu. Tinau kishmi. Dilukomi hiv. Kapilo, steu, tenademi, te breitha chadatha di hivlekom wathrabin di mashlech chatayin. Budu tenale te grani.
I love the way Augustine said it, one of the great fathers of the church and of the faith. He just nailed it when he said it like this. Men go abroad to wonder at the height of mountains, the huge waves of the sea, the long course of rivers, the vast compass of the ocean, the circular motion of the stars, but they pass by themselves and they don't even notice. In the womb, miracles happening every moment. Here you are at 5 months in the womb. You remember those days? Those were the good old days. And just miracles happening every second. Let me tell you about one. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. And the God of the heavens is the one who fashioned you together. And he knows your name tonight. And he knows every single thing there is to know about you. And he's made you a promise that for those who trust in him, he will literally hold them in his hand and carry them all the days of their life. This Psalm 33 that talks about a star-breathing God turns an interesting corner. It says, for he spoke and it came to be. He commanded and it stood fast. That's power and awe. But now it gets very personal. From heaven, the Lord looks down and sees all mankind. From his dwelling place, he watches all who live on earth. He who forms the hearts of them all and is intimately acquainted with everything they do. And then he goes even further. And he says, the eyes of the Lord are on those who fear him, on those who hope in his unfailing love. And here comes this promise, to deliver them from death and to keep them alive in famine. And that is the promise tonight, because this building and our world is filled with hurting people, with lives that are spinning out of control, with pain that we didn't ask for or could never imagine. And God is making a promise to us tonight. He's saying, I am a universe maker and I am a heart former, but I'm also big enough to be intimately acquainted with all the circumstances of every one of your lives. And I promise you, no matter what comes in this lifetime, no matter how difficult the road or how dark the night, I will hold on to you, and I will literally hold you together and carry you through any and every circumstance that ever comes your way, any moment on this planet. It's the promise of God. And you say, well, man, that sounds good, but how do I know that's true of my life right now, Louis? I mean, that's really what we want to know tonight. And I'll tell you how you can know tonight that God will always hold you together no matter what. It's by looking a little deeper into the human body, and it's a little protein molecule called laminin. Yeah, that's about what I felt the first time I heard that. Here is a scientific diagram of the laminin cell adhesion molecule that's holding your body together right now, okay? This is what I found right here. No, come on, that's crazy. That's just crazy. I just can't believe it. I'm like, how crazy is that? That the stuff that holds our bodies together, that's holding the lining of your organs together, holding your skin on, is in the perfect shape of the cross of our Lord Jesus Christ. And immediately I'm thinking about the words of Paul in Colossians 1. You know this beautiful passage where Paul's talking about the supremacy of Christ and the sufficiency of Christ. He says, for by him, talking about Jesus Christ, all things have been created, things in heaven and things on earth. All things were created by Jesus and for Jesus. But then the next verse goes on to say this. It's crazy. And he, Jesus, is before all things, and in him, that is, in Jesus Christ, all things hold together. That's right. It's right there. I'm like, of course they do. Of course they do. Everything holds together in Jesus Christ. And he goes on at the end of this paragraph, and he just tells the story of grace. He says, for God was pleased to have all his fullness dwell in Christ, and through Christ to reconcile to himself all things by making peace through his blood shed on a cross.
Don't start nothing, it won't be nothing. You wanna start something, it's gonna be something. You wanna start something, it's gonna be something. Yo, don't start nothing, it won't be nothing. Don't start nothing, it won't be nothing. You wanna start something, it's gonna be something. You wanna start something, it's gonna be something. Yo, yo.
Christians like to look like they always do everything right. But I'm about to shine that light, cause none of us are perfect, no not quite. We're no angels, we all make mistakes. If anyone says that they don't, they're a fake. Being a Christian's no piece of cake. We're sometimes wrong with the choices we make, but with that there's forgiveness and grace. I tried my best cause I'm seeking his face. Christ died and he took my place, so I'm washed in his blood and my sins are erased. Living a life with Christ is the best. You don't need to stress cause your life is so blessed. But even if your life is a mess, you can come to the Lord, let Christ do the rest. So you can come as you are, no matter what you've done, you can come as you are. Not about where you're from, you can come as you are, cause Christ just wants you to come as you are. So you can come as you are, no matter what you've done, you can come as you are. Not about where you're from, you can come as you are, cause Christ just wants you to come as you are. Yeah, so you can come as you are. God ain't watching your past, he's just watching your heart. I like exchange of marks, who'll take your past and give you a brand new start. And all it takes is for you to give your heart to him, so why wait? Give him your life, he give you a clean slate. And from being in check, you be saying checkmate. You might not feel ready or the time is right, but on your own it's impossible to live Christ-like. Only Jesus can change your life, so step number one is to come to Christ. He can throw your old ways in the trash, cause you're a new person if anyone asks. If anyone tries to hit you with your past, let them know that your life's been changed like cash. So you can come as you are, no matter what you've done, you can come as you are. Not about where you're from, you can come as you are, cause Christ just wants you to come as you are. So you can come as you are, no matter what you've done, you can come as you are. Not about where you're from, you can come as you are, cause Christ just wants you to come as you are. I know for some of us it might feel hard. Some of us have been in church and been scarred, so we're putting up guards, cause we've been hurt by the people or person in charge. Some of us have been treated like dirt, and we never expect that kind of thing from the church. Some of us have been condemned and it hurts, but nobody's perfect, we all need work. Doesn't matter who you are, matter what you've done, matter what you've been, matter where you've come from. Gonna take the drugs that killed someone. If you give your life to Christ, your past can be gone. Christ knows what you're going to do, and the things that you've done he already knew. So we hung on the cross to save you from sin. He can change your whole life if you just let him in. So you can come as you are, no matter what you've done, you can come as you are. Not about where you're from, you can come as you are, cause Christ just wants you to come as you are. So you can come as you are, no matter what you've done, you can come as you are. Not about where you're from, you can come as you are, cause Christ just wants you to come as you are. So you can come as you are, no matter what you've done, you can come as you are. Not about where you're from, you can come as you are, cause Christ just wants you to come as you are. Yo, so you can come as you are, no matter what you've done, you can come as you are. Not about where you're from, you can come as you are, cause Christ just wants you to come as you are. That's right.